Hello and welcome to Talk the Walk. I'm Winna Wong. The stories are shocking, dramatic, and sound like scenes from a horror movie. Victims recall being lured to Southeast Asian countries like Myanmar and Cambodia under the false pretense of high-paying jobs with low requirements. But upon arrival, they realize it's all fake. Their passports get taken away, and they find themselves in a hellish situation where they're forced into hard labor, abused, and even sold like animals in a foreign country. Lately, there's been an eruption of such cases involving victims from Hong Kong and Taiwan. Today, we've invited Joy to talk the walk. She's a human trafficking specialist from the Global Anti-Scam Organization, which is a nonprofit that's been helping scam victims escape. Joy, thank you for being with us today.
Hi, Mina.
Hi. So, I should mention to the audience that Joy is actually speaking to us under a pseudonym, which actually brings me to my first question. Joy, why is it important for you and your colleagues at GASO to protect your identities?
Okay, basically for us, the work that we do is very sensitive, and the people that we work with, and basically we just want to keep ourselves low key because a lot of times the people that we are dealing with behind behind the victims that are actually going there, the companies and all that, they have big influence, and we just want to keep safe, especially when we have our families and stuff like that, because we're just volunteers. Yeah.
So as far as you know, who are the syndicates behind these cases?
As far as we know, a lot of these syndicates are actually based from China. That's the information that we get. And they are very big influencers, and they have because they have been around for some time, so their influence is actually very great around the region. Basically, like what you mentioned, in Myanmar, in Cambodia, they're actually very big, and they do work across these two countries, and even in Laos, so they're actually interconnected to a certain degree. Yeah.
What kind of work are they doing in these countries? How have they been operating for such a long time?
The work that they do, basically, they do scams. They do scams of many different types. A lot of times what we see is the more common scams, and right now in the larger scales, would be like what we know as the pig butchering scam. In Mandarin, you call it the 杀猪盘. And then you have the calls that they have phishing websites, they have job scams whereby they pretend to be some platform and they tell you that you can make a quick buck when you place orders and stuff like that. So that's basically on the surface when they're scamming people of their money. Then on the background, as they need people to do all these operations. So for these operations itself, they do recruitment via social media, on groups and stuff like that. And that's how they do the recruitment and get people to go there. And when they do this type of job scams, they post stuff like jobs for like interpreters or croppers and stuff like that, to get them to go over with the promise of high pay. Yeah. So the economy has been bad in the last 2 years. That's why these people are actually going there. Yeah.
And as you mentioned, they've been operating in these countries for a very long time. Does that mean that this actually isn't a new phenomenon? Are we just starting to talk about it? That's why we feel like there's been an increase. Has this actually been around for a long time?
Basically, for all the scams, they have been around for at least what we see now is what we see now currently. But from the intel we have and from the people we speak to, this has been ongoing for a long time. It's just that with COVID and China essentially stemming they're not allowing people to travel out of China that easily from COVID, so they have actually shifted their attention to other countries. And anti-scam has been very big in China, so they have actually tightened up. So that's why they started turning their attention to Southeast Asia and Hong Kong and Taiwan, the kind of places. And then right now, of course, with their operations being more successful, and they're actually targeting the European and American markets quite a bit right now. Yeah.
And what about the local authorities? I'm talking about local police and consulate and the local government officials. We have heard stories of people saying they have tried to get in touch and actually were able to get in touch with local police officers, but they end up being told that they're on their own. How come they have not been able to help?
I think for victims who have actually reached out to their local authorities, right? Because this is something very new to the local authorities, and not much has been known about them. For us organization, we have been working with this, and this because basically we started out helping victims, and along the way we actually meet this so-called, we will term them as scammers. And then when we speak more to them, we realize that this is an issue that has been going on, and I think awareness about a year ago was really not there. And then with the efforts from GASO, as we speak to more people, we get to know more things, and then we have been trying to expose and do awareness so that more people know about it. That's why we see that it's not like before, and the guys are feeling helpless. So there's lesser of that now, but of course, with knowledge, with awareness, scam compounds, scam companies, they're getting smarter along the way, and it's just it's not as easy as it seems. Yeah, because a lot of times people do not understand that these are so what we would term normally as third world countries, and when it's in a third world country, then it's not like established like what we have in the countries that we are in the developed countries. That's why it's like so difficult to get things done. Yeah.
Would you also say that local authorities might be working with, or are they afraid of the syndicates there?
What we see and what we have experienced is that when we go to the local authorities, sometimes they are actually being brushed off, and they do not want to help because these syndicates, by and far large, they are very influential, and they do have strong people as their backers. So it's not an easy task. And I believe from online that you see all the photos and stuff like that of how these scam companies are run and these scam compounds are run. It's not so easy to say that you can just walk out like that. A lot of times, even when we have with the guys like being able to run out and stuff like that, the local police, the local law enforcement, they just do nothing about it.
You did mention that these syndicates are very influential locally. How are they influential? What do they have that makes them so powerful?
They have very strong backing. They have very strong backing. They have, as we uncovered, we realized that they actually have links to the government, or people who are closely linked to the government actually are like helping them to a certain extent. And I think the country probably is not so well to do. Like in the case of Cambodia, they are not like developed and stuff like that. So they need the money from these people to come along and to build it up and to bring up their economy. And then for place like Myanmar itself, we know that they are like they don't really have a government there, and it's like they are just happy that there are people there to help them build up the place, and have some jobs for their people around there. In the more rural areas. Yeah.
So far, how many Hong Kong people have you guys helped or dealt with?
As far as concerned, we don't really have that much of requests from Hong Kongers. For us, Hong Kongers are something very, very new. So far for me, myself, I have like contacted with at least four such people. And I think in our organization, we have about 10. For statistics wise, that we know, there were actually about 20 people who have sought help before. 10 have returned to Hong Kong safely. 2 are like safe and out of the compounds. There are still about 8 people trapped in the compounds. Yeah.
And I'm also wondering, are there any common characteristics to the victims who tend to fall for these scams, or are they varied across the population in terms of their financial background, their upbringing, and their education level?
It really diverse. It is really very diverse. I mean, I have met guys who are super duper young, that's like in their teens, maybe about 17, 18 years old, and they go there probably not that highly educated. I have case whereby I have met a victim who is like, a PhD student. We even have like a call for help from, I think the Hong Kong one that we received, he is like a uni lecturer and stuff like that. So I would say that, they are the demographics of these people who are actually being scammed that is really very diversified. It's not like, okay, if you're needy, you have no money, you want to go there. Yeah, it really is crazy to be very honest.
I'm also wondering, why do you think these syndicates bother with such elaborate scams? Is it really worth it rather than hiring labor locally without it being illegal?
Basically, they need people to be able, because like I mentioned, scam compounds are actually run by Chinese people. They need people to be able to speak Mandarin or at least read Mandarin. So locally wise, it's not so feasible. And why is that lucrative? Because when they scam, the amounts are huge. It is crazily huge. We have seen people who lost like a few $100,000 at one shot. I mean, just one singular victim, if they are able to get it, they can get that insane amount of money. So it really makes it worthwhile for them to be scamming. And I think statistics around the world have shown that millions of dollars. I'm not just saying like 1, 2 million, but it's like tens and hundreds of millions that they have actually made from there. Yeah, so definitely it's lucrative.
Okay, let me stop you right there as we go on our break. Stay with us. We'll be back in a bit.
Sure.